I wanted to bring up something just back on the immigration chat, because I think this is worth talking about as well. We were talking about assimilation and whatnot. We have been importing people like at record pace. And there was an article today, I'll try and find it for Wednesday so we can go a bit more deeper into it, but basically talking about, I think it was like, I don't want to say the percentage, but I think it was like over half of our immigrants will fail a driving test. It was a huge number. I read
that today. But a lot of it, though, to be clear, a lot of it was to do with their English comprehension. They couldn't read the signs. It wasn't all to do with necessarily roadcraft and they couldn't control a car.
I'm not sure how that's different.
Based on what I'm seeing on the road, some of them can't control a car, that is for sure.
Not to be disrespectful, but it doesn't matter whether it's the way they drive the car or it's not being able to read signs. Either way, you shouldn't be on the road. The reason I bring that up is last year I had a car accident, and thankfully it was on a suburban road, so I was doing 60, and a woman in I think it was like a Barina or something, like an old Holden Barina, bald tires, a wreck basically. But I was literally going through the intersection and she just cut me off. And I had no choice but to pile into her. And she's so lucky she didn't have a passenger, because the passenger would be dead. I drive a big Jeep Wrangler and I just pummeled that car. And she literally turned in front of me and I didn't even have a second to think about braking. The reason I bring this up is because there was also a bus, like a public bus that was on the other side of the intersection waiting. And so it all happened so fast, and my car hit her and bounced into the intersection. So it was like it blocked the entire intersection. Anyway, so then, of course, people driving around, and I've got the big blue Jeep and everyone's assuming I'm the bad guy. And there's this like wrecked up Barina. And I get out of the car and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And the lady, the bus driver, she ran out. She's like, you didn't do anything wrong. It's not you. I've got it all on camera. Like, you're fine. I was like, oh my God, And then I rush over to her car to make sure she's okay. She gets out. She starts yelling at me. It's my fault. Anyway, cops get called. Long story short, she blames me, and she's going to goes to the cops. It's her fault. And then, it was all fine. It wasn't my fault. But the reason I bring that up is she'd been in the country 2 days. She was from India. She was driving a unregistered, uninsured car on an international driver's license. Now, here's the thing. That was a fairly minor crash in the sense that, it was 60 Ks. But as I said, had there been a passenger, they'd be dead. And so I don't want to be in a position where this is an inevitability. And sorry, just to cut you off. In Sydney yesterday or over the weekend, a Asian woman, I think she was Chinese, almost killed someone in her Rolls Royce. She was drunk behind the wheel. She was 23 and she had a blood alcohol.
She was driving the Rolls, or she almost killed someone who was in a Rolls? Wow. Okay.
No, she was driving the Rolls and she veered into the opposite lane and hit a guy who was a chauffeur driving a Mercedes van, I believe. And he's a chauffeur that drives around people like Kyle Sanderland. So that's his job. He was just doing his job. And he had to be cut out of the car. He had to be rushed to have surgery. From what I understand, like he was pinned under the dash. So, it could have been catastrophic, could have killed someone. So there's a conversation there. And I'm not saying that they can't drive. I'm saying why isn't it a requirement to at least sit the test? Like, okay, so their English isn't good enough to read the signs. Okay, well, let's get them up to scratch. I don't like. So this is the thing. I feel like this is a controversial statement, but I'm not understanding how it's controversial.
So it depends on what you prioritize, and I'm gonna be the bad guy here. I'm on the record as actually saying that we shouldn't be trying to have a zero road toll. We need to tolerate some accidents and including some deaths on the road, because the cost of stamping every single one of those out will actually kill more people in other ways. I've done whole videos on that, so I'm not going to go into it, but I'm going to be the bad guy here a little bit. I partly agree with you, but let me make a counter argument. If we did not allow people to get international licenses without a test and without having to go through that rigmarole, we would become a much less attractive international destination for tourism. Now, we could turn around and say, well, stuff the tourists, we don't need them. And that's easy for us to say, but for the businesses that do depend on tourism, for the regions that do depend on tourism, for the universities that do, that are aimed maybe more at sort of driving age students, et cetera, that's a pretty big deal breaker for them. A lot of our economy, rightly or wrongly, is dependent on people from other countries coming and spending time and money over here. And if we make it too difficult for them to get a license and get on the road, they're going to reevaluate their priorities and maybe go somewhere else. And that includes the ones that can drive as well as the ones that can't. It won't just get rid of the bad drivers only. It just makes us a less attractive destination across the board. So I don't think it's as simple as come to Australia, sit an Australian driver's license test. Number one, we don't have the infrastructure for that. We can't handle that. They're not going to book a driver's test, 6 weeks in advance, arrive, fail, and then have to book another one for another 6 weeks time, the way that we do as Aussies. None of that process works, if that makes sense. So it's not as easy as just saying, oh, well, don't let them drive. I guess that's my point.
I see your point. And I understand it, but I don't agree with it. The
Sure.
reason being,
it is debatable. I agree. It's debatable.
It's logical, and I agree with you. And obviously, tourism is important, and it's kind of like a thing. Backpackers come here, they hire a van, they go up and down the eastern coast. I don't want to see that
Go
stop.
and work on some farms for a while. Yep.
Of course, I don't want to see that stop. But the issue is, again, we have to make policy that appeals to the lowest common denominator, because a lot of the people that are coming here are people from countries where they don't necessarily obey their road rules. I don't know if you've ever been to the Middle East, but have you ever been? Oh, no, you haven't been to Egypt, have you?
No, I haven't been to Egypt. No, I've seen videos. I mean, those guys can drive on 2 wheels in a 4-wheeled vehicle. So I don't see what the problem is. Why can't they do a roundabout over here?
You want to talk culture shock, dude? The drive from Cairo airport to my hotel was about 40 minutes, and I almost died about 70 times. I have never been so terrified in a car in my life. And I was Egypt in itself was a huge culture shock. But the way they drive, I was like, holy shit. The fact that we made it, and I mean, the cars show their driving skills. You can see all the battle wounds on the cars.
Yeah.
And then this is the thing, right? It's a bit like all the Aussies going to Bali and hiring scooters and then, basically almost killing themselves. And I know Bali's cracking down on that. And I agree.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them, because the cost to them in their hospital system, et cetera, is so extreme as a proportion of their income.
It's dangerous for the Balinese too. And this is the thing, go to Vietnam. Have you been to Vietnam?
No.
Okay. You want to talk about Vespas and mopeds and scooters. There's more scooters in Vietnam than there is people on this planet. It's insane. And if anyone's been to Hanoi, you know what I'm talking about. There's more scooters in Vietnam than there is grains of sand on this planet. And I'm not being hyperbolic. That's what it looks like.
I think you are, but yes, I get it.
And it's crazy, right? But the thing is, we in Australia, if we saw that, if that was Australia, we'd be just you can't do this. This is crazy. But in Vietnam, that's all they know. So when you're trying to cross the road, the whole thing is cross the road, they'll go around you. Now, that is me adopting to their way of life. Now, as an Australian, I would be like, why isn't there a crossroad? Why isn't there the green and red man dancing across the street? But of course not. I'm in Vietnam. I need to learn Vietnam rules and adopt accordingly. Come to Australia. We have a very big country. It's kind of a prerequisite to have a car. It's very hard to get around this country without one. So I'm sorry, but you should be vetted in a way, and we would have far less people like myself almost killing someone. And this is not about getting the road toll to zero either. This is just more so about making sure regular people aren't getting killed on the way to work. You've just watched another short clip from the Oddcast, and if you'd like to see the full video, it is over at our dedicated channel. That is the Oddcast HQ on YouTube. We will see you there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and have a chat in the comments.